we're going to create what's called a layout in ArcGIS that is going to summarize 4 of these thematic maps that I've made. So, we have 2 main view options in ArcGIS. One is called the data view and one is called the layout view. I'm almost always going to be working in the data view, but we're going to go into layout view and you'll see the differences right away. And we're going to need our resident expert, Jeff Blossom, to help me talk through the layout view. So layout view is all about setting up a map layout for a printed page or for a web page. And what we want to do now is summarize our main themes of our New York City map, which are education, poverty, unemployment, and so forth. And so layout view allows us to sort of create what are called small multiples in this case, a series of maps that are fixed on the same exact geographic extent that show different statistics. Right? So you can have 100 of these, you could have 4 of these, we're going to have 4 of them, that show, for instance, unemployment over time, that show different spatial distribution of different ethnicities, that show the way a disease moves across the landscape, and so forth. But first things first, Jeff, if I may, what is the key difference between layout view and data view in your estimation?
Layout view takes you into a graphic editing interface, similar to Illustrator.
Similar to Illustrator.
Data view just lets you play with the colors, what you're showing. But once you're in layout view, it's like a page of paper you're on now.
Yeah, so this is really the end game. I don't usually hang out in data view until the project's almost done. Right? So this is getting ready to share my results with the world, with my colleague, with my class, whatever. So here's where we're going to go. And the key thing that layout view introduces is the idea of a data frame. A data frame. So if I click on my proportional symbol map, when I say data frame, I mean this weird blue rectangle shape. Right, Jeff? And since we have 4 maps, we have population, we have unemployment, we have college, and we have poverty, we want 4 data frames because we're going to line them up next to each other. And this is where I'm going to need Jeff's help the most. So this is where you kind of got to eyeball something, because this decision we're about to make, we want 4 of these on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. So we want to make 4 squares that are going to fill just the right amount of space to fill a quarter of a page. So how do I resize one of these data frames? Well, I grab one of the corners. So if you mouse over the lower right corner of the data frame, by the way, just to select the data frame, just click on the geography, and you should get the blue rectangle. Does everybody have the blue rectangle? And I'm going to grab the right bottom corner, and I'm going to make a shape that looks like this, just about 22% of its natural size. Why 22%? Because I'm going to have 4 of these, and they're going to occupy the area that was formerly occupied by the whole frame. So I got this guy. Now this is not a time to be humble, but raise your hand when you got something like this, because this is a key step, and I want us all to be together as we move forward. So does everybody have something that looks like this? No, it was just a number. It's slightly less than a quarter. Because again, we're going to have 3 more of them, and we're going to tile them out on this paper. We're going to have a little space in between. So you should all have something that looks exactly like this, and then stop. Good? Okay, Jeff, so is this where I copy and paste the data frame?
Yeah, this is where you can copy and paste it. I mean, if you want to get real
precise, you could actually size that in terms of inches.
Yeah, I could do that. We'll leave that for later. So I want 4 of these, and I think my best bet is just to copy and paste. What's your agree?
Yeah. So just copy and paste one, and then
Yeah.
we'll look at what happens there and clean that up a little bit.
So before we get too far, guys, the idea is to have 4 of these map extents, the exact same footprint of planet Earth, represented 4 times, but with 3 or 4 different statistical maps on each. So the exact same footprint of the Earth, the exact same size rectangle, repeated 4 times. So how do I do that? Copy. Let's hope this works. Paste.
Oh, you did.
Okay, so up here you can see I have my second data frame. I had my data frame selected, I went to copy, I went to paste, now I got the exact same thing. That is number 1. I'm going to bring it over to the top right side of my layout. And I'm going to line it up the best I can. So that's what I have. Something else that's very important to change when I copied and pasted, my table of contents over here doubled in size. I have this group of layers and I have this group of layers. One of these corresponds to the top left, one of these corresponds to the top right. By toggling on and off the visibility of this proportional symbol map layer, I can see which of those layer groups corresponds to the top left. There's no better way to do it than that. So I'm going to turn on proportional symbol map in the upper left, and in my upper right, I'm going to turn on poverty. So now I see 2 maps, one of the population of New York distributed in space, and one of poverty distributed in space. Surely you couldn't have all done that without an issue. You did? Mm-hmm. Okay, let's copy another one.
Yeah, it must be the lunch.
It must have been. It must have been the free lunch. Write that down. That was really important. So I just hit paste again. And I'm going to do this until I have 4 data layers. You can probably predict what's going to happen. Okay, so every time you see the word layers in your table of content window, that refers to a different data frame. So you should have 4 layers. Each one of those layer groups corresponds to this. So you choose which layer you want to be symbolized in which data frame, and all of a sudden we have our 4 maps laid out side by side. So here is my set of 4 maps that I've designed on a letter-sized piece of paper. Okay, so at this point, guys, we all should have something that looks like this. And now I want to insert some of the main key map elements that make a map a map. And so we need authorship, we need a title, we need some scale bars, and maybe we need some legends. Right? So that's the next part of the program, looking at those key map elements. So, you know, this is a pretty intuitive exercise. If you guys want to try to go at it on your own, you can. I'll be doing it up here. The insert menu is the key menu for inserting things like a title, for legend, for scale bar. All of these things are under the insert menu. I'm going to start with the title. And map titles need to be something succinct, and especially when you're talking about thematic maps, you might want to give it an intuitive title. So I'm going to go with New York City, poverty, unemployment, and education. And you can change the type in here. Another thing I want to do is, remember, I'm a huge advocate of using gray instead of black, and these big black rectangles bother me. So one of the things I want to do is change the data frame border from black to gray. And if I right click on any of the data frames and choose properties and choose, I think it is frame, the frame tab, I can either choose to have no border or a very light gray border, and I'm choosing a light gray border. I'm going to do that to all four of my map frames.
So how to increase